No, what I can see in that scenario is the mother bullies the child in her parenting manner.
Just because you're a hammer, you cannot make every problem into a nail. So your perception of de-escalation is to knock somebody out and now finish the fight.
And the kata is supposed to be a proper kata. So you remember it. And it's not like I tell you yesterday, I've told you 3 times before.
Boy, voice of production, having it today, boy.
Anybody who say you're bullied him?
You know that?
No, but it's every...
Grown Folks Only Podcast.
Good night, folks. Tonight on Good Folks Only Podcast, we have a very interesting topic for you, which eats away at the very nature of the social construct. We're looking at bullying, where it starts from and where does it end up. Now, the classic definition of bullying is between two parties when you have an imbalance of power. The bigger person, the person that holds all the cards, deliberately trying to take advantage or mistreat or cause harm to somebody else. Tonight, we will explore a couple scenarios and get into it with different opinions and subjects. Let's start with Carl.
I'll give a scenario. Like Nigel pointed out, we should start from adolescence or childhood and then move on up. So here's a scenario. It's a child at school that keeps coming home, pocket torn, books missing, torn, whatever it is. So the child was instructed to tell the teacher. Told the teacher 3 times, nothing happened. Then the child was instructed to tell the principal. Still nothing happened. So the child was taught to defend themselves. After that had happened, the child was brought up to the office. The child was there with his parents, the 2 parents of the 2 kids that were bullying him, and the principal. And the scenario turned out where the parents were demanding, because what had happened is he had broken one child's glasses and busted his nose and had busted another one's lip. The parents were demanding payment for the glasses and the medical bills and what have you. His parent then asked him to go get his teacher, brought the teacher back, and questioned them about the multiple times that the child had gone to them about this bullying situation. So in the end, the compromise was given that he would give all his uniforms and shirts that were destroyed over the few years, and they would give the cost of the glasses and medical bills, and whichever one had the greater, they would pay the balance. The principal had nothing to say because the principal knew what had happened. The teacher was like, yes, they could have, whatever it is. In the end, it was the boys being babied by the mothers who thought that they could do anything they wanted to and get off scot-free. What do you think happened in the end of this result?
That the uniforms or the destroyed items of the child that lodged the initial complaints about the bullying situation was greater than the glasses and the medical bills of the others. So therefore, that child's parents didn't really have to pay anything because it was the other way around. The bullies had to pay the price, regardless, even though they were attacked. They had 0 legs to stand on. If the child went through all the proper channels and reported the issue to their teacher, reported the issue when the teacher didn't do anything about the situation, reported the issue to the principal and the situation was still occurring, then by all means, whatever the child did after that, I don't see anything wrong with it. Eh? They're standing up for themselves. All's fair in love and war.
Okay.
I think based on the scenario you gave, what initially comes to me is just to I guess stick a pin. I'm thinking along the lines of what makes a child destroys another child's uniform daily So I'm asking myself, what makes a child become a bully? Right? As it pertains to your question, I think that the initial response when that child came and said that this person is doing something to me, both parents should have been called to the school immediately. It should have never gotten to the point where the child had to retaliate. You understand? The child has to now retaliate and become the aggressor, removing himself from his character and become the aggressor. And now you have to call me, call Auntie Rose and Auntie Rose Nene and tell me about your child glasses. That's my thoughts on your scenario.
I'm thinking about, of course, with bullying, parents have to be involved, and there's a lot of internal struggles that a child goes through if they end up bullying somebody or feel that that's okay. But I also think about the environment that we are putting our children in, a school environment, for example. It's supposed to be a safe, quote unquote, safe environment, a place where they should feel protected or that they are being supported. And from Carol's scenario, it did not feel that way. So the principal didn't really do anything after multiple times of it being reported. And I think as we kind of progress from childhood, adulthood, workplace, different settings, we can see how that lack of support in an environment really helps to just propel bullying and just people getting away with that kind of behavior.
Both ends.
Yeah.
To me, everything you said there, I didn't see a conflict resolution in the end, because if you're just going to say, an elephant fell in the ditch, we're supposed to pull the elephant out. I never see them trying to pull the elephant out. They never address
The actual bullying.
what actually happened with the bullying, how did it escalate. And when you said nothing was done, the complaint was made and
Yeah.
it was just left there.
Now,
3 times by the teacher and once by the principal.
the schools have a thing of watching face sometimes, watching face of those who come and make the report versus who the report is made against,
So that's the other question: would the parents influence or the children?
Exactly, because
child,
why
the two
was it
children
not
in
addressed
question.
in the first place?
Were there any popular students or something like that?
Or
It's who made the
So,
most noise.
Let me tell you what happened. The 2 boys, from what was observed, as I said, looked like they were babied by the mothers and were, I'll handle it, don't worry, mom will come and take care of it and whatnot. And what eventually happened, the father chastised everybody, especially the principal, saying that you allow these things to go on. And they had other scenarios of other kids that had happened in the school that I had known about. So, chastised the teacher, chastised the principal, and then said to the son, if it ever happens again, don't even bother go to the teacher or the principal. Deal with it like you were shown. And if anybody has a problem, they will call me. That's what happened. To this day, those 3 boys are best friends.
so I
Because-
love what you said.
Because after that, it stopped.
Well, boys have a different way of communicating. Huh?
So just to stick a pin in what Carol said, if you would allow me, let me give you another scenario, another outlook, right? Before we get into the root of it, because I really want to address the root of bullying in schools, right? But let me give another scenario. A child comes to school with a lunch bag. That child has a particular item, let's say Skittles, in the lunch bag. The child takes their Skittles and gives to another classmate, right? So the child is willingly giving the Skittles to the classmate. So that classmate now is sharing the Skittles with the child and other students in the classroom, right? But when that child got home, the report the child gave to the parent is completely different to what happened in the school. So that child went home and said, Mommy, that person came in my lunch bag and took my Skittles. But that's not the case. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this scenario, parents, we need to be careful with how we address situations at school. That particular parent came into the school the next day and accused the other child of theft without even knowing or trying to understand the full story. To resolve the situation, the school offered to buy the child the Skittles back. The principal went and bought a plus-size Skittles to what the child actually came to the school with. Why is that? Because the parent told their child, when you go in the school, juke the child in the eyes because they stole your Skittles.
What the hell?
Right? That's a real scenario. Now, we need to understand that children are also, they're able to actually resolve a lot of situations on their own. Right? Children fighting now and then later they friends again. When you are under mother and father vex, the children forget about that and they friends already, you know. How many fights y'all have with cousins and thing and your parents get involved and then
from
by the time you check
involved,
yourself,
you turn on your parents.
the children friends and the parents vex now.
Yeah.
You understand? I think this generation now, when it comes to children, they're very angry. And they're angry because of the things that we probably instill in them verbally. And I say that because nobody wants anything to happen to their child. So we automatically tell our children to resort to fighting back as opposed to actual acts of conflict resolution. Let's take the steps instead before we become the aggressors. I will give another example as it pertains to that specific topic, right? There are, before we even address the outcome or the outlook of the resolution part of it, or how do we fix it, we have to look at the root of it. How children become bullies at school. Is it what they see, what they are taught, what they are told to do? Because you can't tell me you tell your child to juke a child in the eye for a Skittles when you don't even know that your child actually shared the Skittles. What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts? Conflict resolution doesn't work.
What?
Listen,
At what point did anything actually boil down to conflict resolution in anything that was just said there? Because I know anything about conflict resolution.
When the school offered...
Let him
Hear me
finish.
out. Hear me out. Conflict resolution doesn't work. To the points or... All right, so I have a big problem with the removal of corporal punishment in schools.
Me too.
What I believe should have been done was the teacher should have been able to bring their case forward to the principal. And if there was punishment to be handed down, the principal would have been the one responsible to do it. Because like I had a conversation with a good friend of mine some time ago, he was saying, you never know if, the teacher came to school and her husband on her last night, or they were drunk, or they vexed because their car broke down, and they take it out on the child. I get that. But the principal who's in charge, the same way if you're in charge of a police battalion or you're in charge of an office, you're supposed to be of a higher thinking process. You're supposed to be able to put yourself... Yes, supposed to. That's why you've been brought up to that promotion. Children now, and have always come from homes that are broken, give for example, maybe their father is abusive. So when they come to school, they take it out on weaker kids or seemingly weaker kids because life reciprocates, right? You know how many times I remember as a kid kids bullying other kids, kids that were seeming weak until one day they couldn't take it anymore and they turn around and give them a strict right. And that was the end of it. And then the other times you have
'cause they prey on the
conflict
weak.
resolution, beatings, talks, this and that and the other. And the bullying just changed. They stopped doing it in the school. They started doing it after school because there are no repercussions for their actions. And I'm sure Jason will agree with me that scientists can prove to you that if you burn an emotion or a memory with pain, it stays forever. I'm sure we can all remember every scar we have on our body, where we had it, where we felt, what we were doing, even as kids.
Most times, not all of them. But yeah.
Unless you bust your head and you knock out or something, but all right. And I just believe, like, I get what you're saying, Kay, but I believe conflict resolution should not be the only thing. We're human beings and we're creatures of habit, and I believe sometimes you have to scrap, boy or girl.
Well,
You have to defend yourself physically or become the aggressor so the aggressor can leave you alone.
I agree with you on the part where you don't physically have to do something, because in my instance, when I was being bullied in school, I'm a lover, not a fighter. You check? So I was meaning, I said bully.
That's why I said they bullied you.
I was a very silent person at times when I was just entered secondary school. And I was
Used to
short,
be.
and I just started wearing my glasses.
Really?
Like, still I'm short, but yeah. And I
I
just,
get bullying you.
that's totally fine. I custom to it. But I could hold my own now. But when I just entered secondary school, I was a little mouse, yo. I just used to just try and keep the peace, and I didn't want to cause no problems. But I learned how to talk my way out of situations where the bullies just became my friends. All the persons who ever tease me or treat me bad or whatever the case is, they became my friends. They're like my good friends as of today. Like, if I was to call them now and say I needed to do XYZ for my mother for me, they're doing it. But it was real hard in school for that first 2 years. And so I understand that sometimes you have to figure out a way how to outsmart your bully. It's not all the time that violence is the answer, but I do admit that in certain situations, it's warranted.
It doesn't look right.
Talking does not work, and the only thing they feel is if you was to retaliate in the same way that they came at you. But in
It's all escalation.
yes, I know, but sometimes it does work depending on the situation. I said sometimes. I didn't say all the time.
Never works.
In his scenario, it did work. The kids left them
works.
alone. In
The
my
problem is you
scenario,
have to
I was going to
escalate
be
times 10,
plummeted.
not times 1.
In my scenario, I would have been knocked out sure. So fighting was not a freaking option for me. I was just gonna.
Escalation might be good in a school setting, but let's go up a little bit. For example, in our work.
All settings.
No, I mean,
All settings.
how often you see an escalation in a school versus a workplace?
Because people are just afraid.
Not often.
No, that level of maturity from school
Point taken.
to workplace. So that's what I want us to pivot to now.
No, but that extra
Workplace.
that workplace escalations are not, because we're more mature. We tend to decide that I'd rather just leave than deal with this.
And I say pause. And I pause you all because when you adult, you're more mature.
I said you're supposed to be more mature.
Okay, all right. Before I know where you're going, but let me just let me put my scenario forward as to why I kind of agree with Carol about the scrapping pad, but that's probably a boy's thing.
Well, that's why I say I think that's
It's probably a boy's thing. But let me give you an example. I entered Cash's Comprehensive, right? And when you come there, you're the little nude, the little scrawny little boy. So the fourth formers and fifth formers will try to intimidate you. You understand? They'll try to intimidate you. My first encounter, a man come and put and touch my pocket. Chan, roll on me, take my money and me and thing.
Oh.
That's like, knock me hand. When the man see I defended myself, I grab a broom by the canteen and I swing it at him. I kid you not. After that exchange, he tell me, boy, bro, you see you? I respect you. Because I didn't stay there and take it. If you give the room for bullying, and the bully realize your weak talent, they'll keep doing it.
You have to switch up the approach.
Escalate
Catch
by
them
10.
off guard.
You could have just said, don't do that. Guys, leave me alone.
I noticed.
Could just decide, I'm going to take a stick and I swing in at you one time.
So you know that I'm about that life.
Escalate by 10. Situation done.
I noticed Kay raised a very interesting point, and you touched on it about the smothering and the role of parents in forming our behavior. So you have a case where the parent come into school and escalated time 10, and the story was more or less fabricated. You share out the Skittles, and I guess some kind of remorse came in the child's head, and when the child reached home, the child decided to tell the parents that the parents never questioned the child. Oh, they come and jump, you see you? I don't want nobody touching my freaking child. Now, why would the child do that in the first place?
Exactly. Why? And doesn't that leave you to think that that's not the first time the child lying?
No, what I can see in that scenario is the mother bullies the child in her parenting manner. So the child probably was not supposed to finish all her Skittles and realize all the Skittles finished. And his Skittles, sorry.
So they didn't want to get in trouble.
Get on with them. So she figured, let me think of a lie. The child steal my Skittles. All right?
Imagine the child actually said took. And the mother is insinuating because the child took it, that the child is a volley.
But the thing is, the problem there, or the fault I see in that whole scenario, is the principal should have asked the other child.
What happened?
But they did. That's why the principal went and bought the Skittles.
But if you question the other child,
the principal wrong. Because
Nigel gave me the Skittles to share, and then you could probably
it's not about wrong. It's the principal looking to de-escalate because of how aggressive
I'm sorry.
the parent became.
I'm sorry. De-escalation would have been that I'm telling you to leave my premises because what are you doing bringing all that animosity? You don't know the full. You do not know the full story.
Have to be that the person is aggressive, but the person's words or what they were saying is what the aggression was.
Even
right,
if
but my point is, why are you rewarding wrong?
The mother still was aggressive.
The mother is insisting that the child stole the
even if the child saying that your child gave it and
when they questioned the child in front of the mother, he said no.
Is your word against mine, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
And if I do something, I would never open my mouth and say, I still learn from the child. I would say that.
No, but then I'm sure if she was sharing it out with the class, you could have gotten some other children that you could have gone.
That's actually what happened.
Exactly.
Did you see? Take it or did? Oh no, Nigel gave it to him.
Exactly.
So
do a proper investigation before trying to rush to make a resolution.
I want to say one more thing before we move into something else because it's in my head. I want to just get it out there. We're not looking at the long-term effects of that. When I say we need to be able right now there, nobody, not adults, not child, have understood how to deal with conflict. Right now, everybody is being aggressive with conflict. And here why I say this, right? We are no longer teaching our children to assess the situation before saying that it is bullying. We are now telling our kids, as soon as that person do you this, react or respond with violence. That child is getting older, and when they become an adult now, once somebody does them something, they don't know how to say, to ignore. People don't know how to ignore anymore or walk away. Right now, everybody is tackling everything with violence. And it's going back to that system where right now we're not teaching people to assess the situation. Some situations are better handled if it's de-escalated. And some situations require even something that is consistent.
De-escalation is one thing, but rewarding a bad behavior is just as bad.
But it's not about rewarding.
Because buying the Skittles to give back the child and a bigger one than the one means that it's okay to lie. You didn't do a proper investigation to find out whether or not the child really steals the Skittles or not.
They get a bigger bag.
It doesn't matter. Forget the parent. You are rewarding bad behavior. It just so because you want to just
make this conflict resolution thing great, and you want to just de-escalate the whole situation. You want the mother to shut up, so you just buy the no.
The mother bullied the principal.
Well, I would bully back.
No, I'm just,
Like, what the hell?
I am just saying to you, when we look at the dynamic of what we're discussing, we're looking at it in terms of the actual scenario of just the child, the two children having interaction and the parent reacting. But in a scenario, some parents will use their boisterous approach. You understand? And demand out of the principal that they do X, Y, and Z. And the principal, out of being intimidated by that parent, will do X, Y, and Z.
Well, that's the wrong
right?
thing. And if you as a parent, you shouldn't be intimidated.
No, I'm just giving a scenario. But sometimes
Cut him off.
Thank you very much, my fellow co-host. When you all rudely cut me off.
That's your habit. So we decided to give you a taste of your own medicine.
You're finished with me yet? Now, number one. When you're defining something, you cannot use the word many times over. I like us to look at something called the behavioral triangle, the PCP model of it.
Okay.
In order for you to do something, you need 3 elements. And I like us to put it in this context with what we're talking about. The first one is perception. You have to see something going on in your head. The second one is context. Context would also feed into perception. And the third one is permission. Who made you feel comfortable enough, or what in the situation made you feel comfortable enough for you to enact or carry out the behavior? So what do you think about that?
I still don't think that in every situation the first response should be to be aggressive.
No, I agree with you.
We agree with you on
Maybe
that
that
point,
child
but
perception
I
is big.
disagree
I'm not talking about the
with
skills
how.
thing, huh? I'm talking about in general.
Yeah,
I agree with you,
general,
but
You need
I
to make some assessment.
No, we agree with you on that
all right,
point.
Kate, as a
wholeheartedly.
parent,
Because you will just be fighting on all streets.
hold on, as a parent,
And it's boxing people if you say something wrong.
go-
You look at me sideways, you like, why are you looking at me?
By accident. I can't
Yeah.
tell you sorry.
hold on.
Sometimes they don't even
So,
want to tell you
with-
sorry.
With the way I choose to parent, I use the CYA method. Cover your ass. All right.
Okay.
So if something happens, you, you talk. You say, all right. If it, like, do your due diligence. Do what you have to do. Warn, whatever. But make sure that you know at the end of it, your last result might have to be violence, but you would have been able to justify the violence.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's the
Yes.
thing. Now, with everything,
I'm laughing for that one.
with everything,
Justification
like
is
Jason was
always
saying,
necessary.
like Jason was saying, I think from the scenario of the Skittles, the mother is just aggressive, and the mother, their mothers
She's
and
all
their
bark and not
parents.
bite.
I'm not block mothers before they come for me. Their parents who are so caught up in the lifestyles of trying to provide for their kids and dealing with their life choices that the child is just part of their minor responsibility,
Everybody wants to be bad.
right? So instead of understanding that children are children, and if you want to make, and this is just what I think, you know the child is going to eat all the Skittles. You better not eat all the Skittles today because you have to have that tomorrow. Just give the child a half bag so they will not have to do it, because children don't have control on certain things. The emotional keyboard is not big. The child comes home, and I feel the child lied about the Skittles because I cannot understand
Why?
you would come home and lie about the Skittles
Somebody
being stolen.
taking your Skittles.
Yeah, there's
You
no
understand?
reasoning.
There's
that
no
makes sense.
logical reasoning.
Other
If your
than-
mother give you a bag of Skittles for every day of school, you come back with your bag of Skittles, it finish. But if you come and you lie and say it was stolen,
He said
there's
take,
a reason.
Take,
Or taken.
or that
alright?
somebody take your
Or
Skittles.
taken. That means there's a problem.
Now, hold on. I think we have one little thing that we're missing in terms of this, because I hear in the bullying discussion, but your first scenario defines what a bullying is: a repeated cycle of an action by a group of people. The mother's reaction to this isolated situation may not be a situation of bullying.
True.
It may be an incident that occurred, and she
Yeah,
reacted to
in
it.
that way,
Yeah, but I'm saying that's not bullying.
But she could have been bullied.
Right. What I'm getting at is I want us to make sure that we identify not every fight is a bully.
Oh, for sure.
You understand?
Because bullying doesn't necessarily have to be loud. You can bully someone and it be silent but deadly. There are bullies like that out there. They're very mastermind and they know how to get at you when nobody is
Jason
watching.
is my bully.
Now,
Boy, I'm silent here.
this is where I'll have a segue further on into life. The bullies that never get repercussions for bullying and become managers in or supervisors at workplaces.
Exactly.
You understand? Or the kids that were bullied, the employees, or even managers at workplace and get bullied.
Or the bullied becomes the bully. Yeah. The bullied becomes the bully. That's also a scenario.
Or they just say, I'm not letting this happen to me again. I went through this in secondary school, all throughout them 5 years and uni and whatever. I now walk in, me taking shit from nobody. So yes, you're right. They do in turn become the bully. Anybody come at them, they're just ready to swing, whether with words or other actions.
So now I know if I ever see Christopher broomstick run.
Remember the classic definition
Everybody
of
have
bullying?
that mark,
Yes.
that broomstick mark.
Yo,
You have to have some advantage you can see over the person and figure out you can use it to hurt the person. It's not a fair fight. It's something
Some manipulation
you
tactic.
engineer. And just because somebody is bigger than you, that don't necessarily make them a bully towards you. Because I have known cases where I got a story from my friend where he said, boy, growing up, people used to trouble me because I had more size than everybody else. And whenever I try and defend myself, they would watch me and say, oh, you're bigger than them. You're supposed to know better. So what am I going to do in that situation?
Start knocking people.
I definitely sympathize with my friend. Now you have to be careful. Just because you're a hammer, you cannot make every problem into a nail. So your perception of de-escalation is to knock somebody out and I would finish the fight. That's why I come back to the perception triangle. You tell me, Daddy, that if somebody troubled me, I could knock them out. You give me permission to knock them out. So that's two. The third one, context, environment. I don't want people to feel like weak, so I put up my hands and fight. But at some point, you go from the victim to being the aggressor, and you don't know when to stop. You start kicking the person at the ground. You start now. How do you deal with a situation where you have a size advantage and you cannot tell the police? Because I have been bullied. I've been bullied by partners. I've been bullied by, they say, oh, knock me, but you don't know. They will try and knock you, and nobody will ever believe that
They know.
they that start the fight and they that's the aggressive person. Because when the police come, they roll on the ground and they cuffing themselves. I see videos of women cuffing and rolling over on the ground.
Wait, that happened to you?
That's why you so
Yeah, that happened to me already. True story, that happened to me already. When they rolled on the ground and
they turn
pretended like
professional
it's
actors
you.
and stunt
It's a
man.
video I see on YouTube, by the way.
No, you guys just say you said that happened to you.
It could happen to you.
Well, a version that happened to me where you see the person smaller than you, and like my friend also explained to me. I still don't know how I bullied came, but just hold
That's
that.
after.
Just hold
That's
that.
what after, yes.
You have the perceived size advantage when you're in another dimension, the person using their power to bully you within a character assassination frame. You rape me, you beat me, you coming on top of me, you forcing yourself on me. When sometimes the person just minding the business, how do you deal with a situation like that? When your child come and give you a story, but your child is actually the aggressor. Because I'm sure that child go and tell the parent is that person that was looking for trouble.
I'm a very logical person. So if a situation happens, I try my best not to just fly off the bat. I observe, I research, I do what I have to do to make sure that the decision I make is the best that I can with my information that I can do. I know exactly what you're talking about because I have a good friend of mine. We went to school from infant school all the way to end of primary school, but we remain friends to this day. 6'3", at the time, maybe 350, big guy.
It's still alive?
Yes.
350 at what age?
Late teens, early,
Sure.
yeah.
That's a big game.
I mean, he's not in the best health now, but he's still alive. And everybody would look at him and think, why not even going to mess with that man? And he was a marshmallow. he is this softest, most timid person you'd ever meet if you know him personally. But because of his size, exactly that. He was hired for security jobs and security gigs and different things like that. But when you know him, the calmest, quietest person, he would never want to fight. Always afraid for anything like that.
They call him the gentle giant.
Yeah.
So back to your question, Jason, I feel like this topic we're on right now is very touchy because there are multiple angles we can look at this scenario as. And if you put a similar scenario to each one of us, we might have, 8 or 9 of us there? We might have 9 different outcomes because of environment, how we were raised, size, situation, training, whatever it might be. So it cannot be pinholed to this is what it's supposed to be. That's just my take on it. I agree with that.
Which is why I said that instead of the first response being aggression, we need to really teach ourselves and our children to assess the situation, because every situation determines a different response or an outcome.
Yep.
And that's why I'm saying we are literally right now telling our kids that their first response should be aggression. No one is saying you need did that happen? Why did that happen? Do this first, do that, like the cover your ass method. Mm-hmm. That's what I always tell my son. Did you report to your teacher that this person hit you? What happened? I will go and find out. Kyrie came home and said, this person did me that and he reported it to you. Did Kyrie report it to you? And what did you do? Mm-hmm. You understand?
Yeah.
And then if it's something that's reoccurring, I go to tell Kyrie, finish him.
That sounds like a Mortal Kombat.
But I would never ever teach my son that his first response.
Yeah.
You said something a while ago, which makes a lot of sense. I just connected that thought for me. As you grow up, and with what I was saying about repercussions, the ability for proper conflict resolution, which sometimes ends in violence, is that kids who don't face repercussions or have conflict resolution properly, where they've either been bullied their whole life or whatever, never had the opportunity to scrap, never had the opportunity to stand up for themselves, because we're always, no, talk it out. No, talk it out. When they get to an age where hormones kick in and then your emotional keyboard expands, you now fight or flight. Jason will understand that. You don't know.
I know, right?
I'm talking about the psychological aspect of it.
Okay.
You don't know how to handle the adrenaline rush. I guarantee you, 80% of situations that happen where somebody has done something to somebody out is they're afraid, for their own self. So they become the aggressor first because they never had to deal with it. There's a saying they tell you that a coward's blow is the most dangerous blow, because all you want to do is put all your strength into that one shot to end this, because I don't want to get my ass bust. And it happens. Sometimes people die. You swing one punch. Mid could never lift a 10-pound weight in his life and swing one punch, crack a man's skull.
But we're talking about bullying from the perspective of aggression and physical interaction. And the psychological bully is worse. Mm-hmm. So when you have to, the bully when your child doesn't come and tell you that they've been bullied is worse.
It's worse.
So we have to address that. Now, what I would say is that we as parents Yes, you could when you have the interaction with your child for them to be able to come and tell you something happened at school. That's one thing. But when your child is scared to come and tell you something at school, that gives a different dynamic, and it moves it from the person that bullying them to you as a parent, how you communicate to your child.
Yep.
Right? Because if you do not have the ability for your child to be able to come and talk to you honestly and openly about situations, or if they, in their mind, they have the perception that, boy, if I come and tell my mother go just tell me, go on my business, go and sleep. Don't come and tell her no magie. Those interactions, those things that we take as little slights in our parenting, right, are causing more damage and giving power to the bully.
Yeah.
And sometimes that same attitude as a parent that you giving to your child turns your child into a bully.
Yeah.
So if you are depriving, okay, not intentionally, but let's say you have a child who doesn't have a packed lunch bag, but he know when he gets to school, if he looks like he have a mean mug face, he could get something to eat. You understand? So he puts on a mean mug face to get something to eat. I hate bullies, but then we have to understand that something happened. What happened? What caused that? What is that bully doing? That bully constantly eating my food. He always want my pencil. You want my thing. Then you have to wonder to yourself, it's a situation whereby, he just doesn't have. Right? And we as parents communicating properly or effectively with our child, we could come to some kind of resolution even without getting other parents involved. You understand? Because now you know how to turn that person into a friend. That kind of scenario. I think that's the soft skills that we have to make sure that we teach our children to be able to have the rationale to determine, okay, is he doing that deliberately? Is he doing this, that? What's the reason behind it? That's where you have to come in.
So just repeat everything I say in different ways because you're making it sound smarter.
Thank you, Kay.
But I'm happy. Thank you.
So now you're bullying me.
What you just said
Minor
there, I
aggression.
resonate with, right? Because in secondary school, there was this one girl that literally used to get super mad because we used to be fighting for grades, like first position in class. And one day she got really mad that I beat her by like about 5% on the last assignment or exam or whatever. And she used to take my lunch, stick out her foot, try and trip me, all kind of strippiness, like all the time. Like she just used to like trouble me all the time. So one day I'm at tennis and I see the girl on the porch, like on a porch by a house. And then I realized she lives there. And then the next day in school, well, I realized also the house didn't have electricity. So, and she was by under the street light doing her homework. Next day in school, I asked her a question. And that's how by that one question that I asked her, I won't disclose what it was, but by that one question, she opened up to me about some other things. And after that, I just started hanging out with her, and I literally was like, you could come by me after school. We can do homework by my house, whatever the case is. Or you could meet me by the tennis courts or whatever. We do what we have to do, and then you could walk back home. There's light by the tennis court. Once we train in, you could do your homework there and then do what you have to do and go home. I mean, there was times when she had to work in her grandmother's shop because she's the only girl and granny needed the help. Is 7 grandchildren she have to take care of plus herself. So it was just a lot, and I understood why she was the way she was and why she was the way she was towards me, because she felt I had everything why should I be getting good grades and I have everything else on top of that? You know what I mean? Like, she was looking for her way out by getting good grades and I did in her way. That's how she felt. And I was like, we don't have to compete. Like, we could lift each other up. Like, it doesn't have to be. That's why I say I just talk myself out of things. So by me observing what was going on, I was able to sit down and talk to her. And then I went and I spoke to my mom. And my mom was like, invite her over, like, befriend her in some way.
Now,
and
Femi,
up to this day, she is still one of my best friends.
So, Femi, how you think you were able to,
Because my parents made me feel comfortable enough to talk to them about anything.
And your parents also taught you how to, because you could have met that child with aggression every time
Of course. It could have gone sideways so many times. But I think it was because of how I was raised and how my parents were with me is what made me feel like, okay, let me try some of these methods that my mother is telling me to use, or let me just tell my mom and let me see her take on it. And then maybe I could, try some of these tips. But I mean, it was hard at first. She didn't know if she could trust me to tell me half the things that she tell me. But when she did open up to me, it was different.
But was that really bullying, or was that just a cry for help from that child?
Well, it's bullying if it's not just me alone and I wasn't the only target, and this is a repeated offense every day.
She used to gang up on you for
She's taller than me, and she used to attack other people that were about my height. So
she had a serial thing. It was a serial thing.
I don't know if it's a short people thing or whatever the case is, but I never used to get trouble from the girls and stuff in higher farms because one of my friends, she had an older brother, and he was in farm 4 or 5 when we joined school. So from the time anybody look at us sideways in the higher farms, nobody never trouble us. But people in the class itself is a whole different scenario.
I'm hearing something else. She had any friends?
Not really, no.
So it sounds like she was socially excluded.
But that's her fault.
That's her fault, not mine. If you bullying everybody else in your age group category in your class.
Now, funny enough, you describe a perfect situation to this. That's one of the ways of how you can actually reduce bullying. If somebody feels socially excluded or on the fringe, then this person is more than likely to become a bully. These are the same people that become shooters.
Yep.
We need to teach our children not to look down upon, not to judge, and to also listen.
Yo, I used to share my lunch with this girl because she come in school with 0 things.
Now I say that because
I noticed this, but people have to be mindful. You're not going to just notice. Nobody ain't going to tell you, well, hey, I don't have lunch today, so you giving me your lunch today. No, it ain't working. So I love food and I will fight you for my fucking lunch. What?
Why? Them short people something. Why are you so aggressive, man? Are you sure you're not a bully?
My mother used to cook lunch for me every single day. I went to school with proper cook lunch. And you would just come and want to wile me for my lunch? Nah, fam. We go fight.
Well,
that's the one time I go scrap with somebody for my food.
I think that the schools are implementing a lot now because they realize that the generation right now, they're very angry, they're very aggressive, that they really do not understand the concept of conflict resolution within the schools. And so I like the implementation of
even understand conflict resolution themselves.
Hold on. I like the concept of that. They had a campaign, be a buddy, not a bully, and lectures and stuff. However, the children are going to learn that in school and still go home and be told something different. They're going to be encouraged by their parents.
You have a point. They fight in an uphill battle.
Exactly.
Because you can't just change the environment.
To say that we need to also continue to, whatever they're teaching, as it pertains to the campaigns in the school, we need to reinforce that man at home.
In my son's school group, right? The teacher makes a point to share interactions that happen within class, indiscipline situations, so on and so forth, right? And there was this scenario where there was a level of indiscipline on a part of the children, and she shared that in the parents group, not in the children's group, in the parents group. This group of children were misbehaving, so on and so forth. She didn't say the name. She took a photograph so everybody could identify who the group was. One parent came out and she spoke against it. You're always posting the bad things that you're doing, now never saying when that you're doing good, which is not true, right? But the point is, she was highlighting the fact that maybe her ward was part of the group of the negative, and she was expressing a dissatisfaction with the approach that the teacher was having. Now, I'm not saying you cannot have your qualms before the teacher is. What you do as a parent is You see she sent it in the group. You private message her and tell her you didn't appreciate, you didn't like, you didn't so on and so forth. But you decided to go all out war on the teacher in a group with parents, right? So it kind of sets the frame as to why your ward would behave in the manner that they behave, because you have that pit bull approach, and you expect your child to be a fucking poodle,
Right?
you understand? So how can you expect your child to be a poodle or want your child to be respectable? You know what I mean. But your approach dictates how your child will behave. So when your child is on the misbehavior list, let's put it this way, right? You have to ask yourself, what is my contribution to his misbehavior, right? And we contribute to it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So let
but
me
of
tell you
course-
how people perceive things with regards to that. You have two options. You can either have cognitive dissonance, holding two different ideas in your head. Let's say I did something wrong. Either I am wrong or the person is wrong. Which one do you think the average person would choose?
The other person is wrong.
The other person is wrong. Most times bullies don't know they are being bullies, or they figure the bully is unfair or somebody doing something against them. So it takes a shift in the mindset of not just the parent, because a lot of people like to pretend like children don't know what they're doing sometimes. Sometimes you tell your child the best things and they go in the school and they're a totally different person because you don't give them freedom. So we have to be very careful with that. Somebody can think that the other person is wrong because of lack of empathy, or what they call them, apathetic people. They just
As I get killed for a man because the man was a good student there. I tell you, they killed me in a scenario. My older brother, right, was in his group 2 years ahead of me at the same school, right? 2 years ahead of me. My brother is a kicks off. You understand? I come there Form 1 with my little self. So that is his little brother. So he's a kicks off too, right?
But they're two different people.
Yeah, they don't know that.
It's like me and my sister.
They don't know that. So Mr. Man coming there and he trying to poke fun at me and all kind of shit. Cause one time it passed the guy, I call his name, move there, Bula. Yeah, my partner say I call him Bula. And my partner come and you try and play, you grabbing me, collaring me. You're ready to, you know?
Not because why you call them
Because you're a fucking Bula at the time, do it.
What? You, that's just wrong.
Nobody, no, he bullied me. But you picking fun at me? I don't know you. What you picking fun at me for? You don't know. I never came in. I never came in your circle. I never came in your circle. Let me get through it, man. Let me get through it. 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 Right? Let me get through it. The whole point. The whole point is the man come, he was aggressive to me, right? I retaliate by calling him a bula. He find I went too far. He come and collar me. And then that's why you remember Bolo from the karate. I give him endless Bolo to drop me. You check it? Huh? No, but head on. So when I turn my back, the man cuffed me behind my head.
He trying to relive glory days.
He cuffed me behind my head.
You got to still do that.
If I can say that.
okay. So you fight with him.
Hold on, I didn't fight. Listen, he cuffed me behind my head and he went about his business. The next day, not the same day, the next day, they called me to the principal office.
You alone.
But
Right?
I took it.
So let me ask
They
you.
called me, hold on. They called me to the principal office and they asked me what happened in that scenario there. And you know what the principal said to me? That guy is a how you call it again? A model student. He has never been in any problems, has never had any trouble in the school. You just came to the school and all of a sudden he's in a problem.
So good. What did you do? Get
Hold on, Missy. Stop interrupting her. Y'all have the mic, stop. Right? When the situation happened, at the time the principal felt the best course of action was to cane me. That was in the presence of my mother. By the next day, when I went home, the lash that he gave me at the back of my head left like a scarring, right? My mom went to the school now because clearly I was not paid, but she could see I was in a physical altercation. I didn't see anything to her, but she saw it. So by the time she goes to the school. I already got him the day before, like I tell you, right? So we trying to hash out the scenario. And he trying to see like he was defending himself because I called him that. And he never said to them what he was doing to me, right? By picking on me, right? And I merely just, as far as I was defending myself because he's picking on me. Long story short, they tell us, okay, well, let's kill that then. Okay, let's kill that then, fine.
They can't take back the cane they gave you.
They can't take back the cane, but
So what? They can't
stronger.
take-
But that's why the cover your system works. So I have an uncle that going to the school next door.
Okay.
Really have uncle.
Right? I have an uncle that goes to the school next door. He's not one that you normally mess with. Right? He's not the one that you normally mess with. At a convenient time for him, he makes his way to my school. He proceeds to ask me where the person is. I tell him we already sorted the problem out. Idiot in my class, they said, look in there, look in there.
Okay.
They bust his ass, and we are friends today. The point I'm making is, even in a scenario where you were being bullied, sometimes you get called out and you're not the one that actually initiated it. The bully's smart. So you smart, you're a book smart person, the teacher will perceive that because you book smart, because you're a number one student, because you this, you know that you can't possibly be a bully. And that's prejudging. That's the same way, the same fucking prefects in my school were in the bathroom gambling, right? At break time, they're gambling, but they're the prefects that's supposed to make sure you're not doing it. Huh? You check it.
Disclaimer, please excuse voice or production. He is using this platform to vent.
He ratted out all the people.
To what you said before you went into that.
That don't mean nothing.
It goes back to
Still
the
stitching.
old school style of parenting. It takes a village. As a parent, if I'm in a WhatsApp group and a teacher sends a video that shows my child fucking around, the first thing I'd ask is, what happened? What did he do? I vex with you. And every other parent inside of there should be asking the same thing.
Yep.
Because I cannot be everywhere all the time. Neither can you be everywhere all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if we all parent all the children like before, we wouldn't have the kids growing up today like how they are.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you can't talk to nobody.
You understand?
They say people just watch you sideways.
Now, this tell you talk to your child.
But
Yeah,
that's
because
bullshit.
you took away corporal punishment. They can't make it right.
Bullshit, you know. I've heard of scenarios where
They can't do
parents
nothing.
come in the
The only
school
solution is
to
corporal
fight with
punishment.
teachers
The only
because the teachers
solution.
didn't knock this thing or give them detention or give them something, and teachers have to be escorted out of school. Students want to fight with teachers, want to stab them, and these children still going to school. And I'm like, that's to me, that's madness. You understand me? The way we are going about the educational system right now and raising kids is madness. This thing about spare the rod, spoil the child is not working. We have to go back to the corporal punishment. And I know it probably came from the bigger countries who have adopted that, so they want us to adopt it too.
That's
But
exactly what happens.
That's
exactly what happens.
We can clearly see the psychological effects
Everywhere.
of no corporal punishment, no repercussions to their actions,
But not
or any of the sorts.
Not all corporal punishment was bad. They have different ones that weren't as bad or as, I would say, physically or
That one, kid.
humiliating.
Kid.
Yes,
I just checking.
I get beat from sticky licky already. That's what the teacher used to call the belt that she lashing people with. It went straight across my back.
I know when I come to my
Miss used to call it sticky licky, and that's exactly what I got. I got
Let me ask you.
the whole belt mark across
Was
my
it
back.
male or female in charge at the time he was there?
So here's my next question, Kurt. So nobody here see the man
No, that was
choke you out and what's not before you decide to Donkey Kong him because
the thing about this perception is what took precedence there. I was fresh to the school. He was 2 years ahead of me, and he has never been in trouble. So they prejudged the situation on his good merit or perceived good merit, and mine newness to the school. So it have to be me that antagonize the man. It has to be me that cause it. I provoke him. That was the word they use. I provoke him.
I wasn't taking case.
Right? No, I took the king.
I wasn't
But
taking
I brought back it. I brought fucking back it. I took it.
No, I wasn't taking it.
I wasn't taking it, especially if I know I'm
Everybody
not
have to come in the office.
You man.
I'm not getting.
My
I'm not
parents would
taking
have
the
to
kid.
come there.
They sub job already. You take the kid, you take the kid. you pay for a couple.
What
about this soap?
He said you don't drop this stuff already, you don't take the kid.
I would just like to. You're all in favor of corporal punishment. Simone was saying she disagrees. So
Yeah.
Simone, if it's not corporal punishment, then
Sergeant punishment?
What?
Hmm?
What is it?
What punishment you think is
No. It's not that I'm
Is
totally
acceptable.
against corporal punishment. I feel like there must be a line where we draw as parents in terms of correcting children when they do wrong. It doesn't necessarily mean, come you do wrong, come, and you're getting a lash, you're getting beat with the pot spoon.
That's abuse.
That's the line I'm talking about, because some parents, I know in my time,
they're just beating you for anything.
auntie house, you getting pot spoon, ruler, belt, you name it.
Steel pan.
And there's no kind of resolution to find, okay, not necessarily to sit down and say, why you think that wrong? You think that wrong? No, is to set them on a right path where they could speak to you, they feel comfortable speaking to you. And if corporal punishment is needed, not abuse, as Carol pointed out, I think that's where kind of the lines could get blurred.
I agree with you on that.
We agree with you on that part.
I don't
but
mean
we
I
just
don't
mean
just
that
passing around the place, just
taking it out
whacking people all over.
completely
I
is
mean,
the problem.
you sit down, we have a conversation, and whether maybe you give detention or you give suspension, which I'm against suspension. But you
Suspension and detention
you give
doesn't do nothing
detention,
either.
And you have mediation, and if 2 free times, whatever it is, then you get strokes.
At the end of the day, what you're saying is what I believe for punishment is, I don't beat you for a mistake. I beat you for not adhering to the correction to the mistake I make you, that young thing. So I tell you, don't do something. You do something. Okay, I don't beat you. I give you a cautionary warning. I tell you next time that happens, if you do that, blah, 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 next time you do it, I will beat you. Right? So you are forewarned. Mm-hmm. The licking that you get is not because you made a mistake again, It's because you broke. You did not adhere to my correction. That's it.
And the kata is supposed to be a proper kata. So you remember it. And it's not like I tell you yesterday, I've told you 3 times before.
Okay, now, a kata's home is different from a kata's in school.
Facts.
As in schools, I think there should be some regulation in terms of corporal punishment. I don't want to hear some teacher just beat my child because he was talking. I come in that school, I making noise, because it have to be some kind of
That's why I
regulation.
said it should
Yeah,
be
but they
left
took
up
it
to
out
the
altogether.
principal.
But
You're not
but in the time when I was going to school, I used to get licks if I came from lunch and my back was wet.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. I used to get licks if I came from class and then and you come and your back was the school thing. Right?
In your hand.
No, but then in hindsight, you will call that, we want to call it abuse, right? But what is different from that and going and joining the military?
So
So you're trying to say school should be like military? Because now everybody cut off for that shit.
Here is a scenario I would like to bring up. So, you used to come home and get licks for your back being wet.
No, not home. At school.
Yeah.
Not at home.
did you get this for that?
All the time.
So,
Yeah, let me tell you what I did. Let me tell you what I did. I dried my shit. 5 things before I dried my shit.
ways to hide the being, but you never.
No. Listen, the concept of getting licks because your back was wet is what you have to understand.
Yeah.
The teacher didn't tell you not to play, but she wanted to make sure that at any day you don't come in and musty and stinky and them kind of thing in the class. That you have a level of self-pride in how you carry yourself.
Hygiene.
You understand? That was her approach.
How old were you?
Bro, I was going to primary school. What are you talking about?
Hold on, let me get to my point.
So from primary school, you take
That
it
is-
sticky licky.
To me, to me, that is basically a woman sterilizing a boy because it's in a boy's nature to just be a little rougher.
To feel sticky.
You have the head out. You have to connect the dots properly. I may not do that. I may not do that now to my son, right? I may not do it now to my son. But it doesn't mean that I will not have the conversation about making sure that you clean and you tidy and so on and so forth. Don't come back black. I understand what her process was. Now especially I understand it, right? At the end of the day, her approach may have been that. So if you don't want to get killed, don't come to school with your... So you know what people do? Take out the shit, right? Put it aside, and then you roughing house, bro. Roughing house, right? You find ways, but the point is she doesn't want you to come back in a class, musty, stinky, and that kind of thing. That was her point.
Wait. So because the shirt is wet with sweat, that mean y'all is thinking...
Oh, they will still be musty. And
because
she probably does different function.
I don't know. You should take your shit and hang it and not play basketball.
Primary school.
What if you wash your vest, wring that, dry that in the air, flap, flap. Put that and then put your shit when you come back inside. You have a little rascal?
Yeah, then.
Fresh. Primary school, you walking around with all of them.
No, secondary school.
Exactly, secondary school is a
But
different
I never used to get licks for playing and being a little boy.
Yeah, this was for getting my times table wrong.
Yeah, we all always get licks for that. We always get
Yeah,
licks for that.
boy, that's how sticky
And
licky
then
came out there.
You have to. Let me tell you, by the time you finish, 12 by 12 is 144. You have to get that. And you still know that.
At the point in time, you
because
remember
I
it.
stick on one.
Now, we have to be very careful. Children might not. You think you're clearly communicating to a child, but you have to understand a child's vocabulary and perception is totally different from yours. A good example is my situation. When I was small, everybody knew that street light rule. When the street light come on,
Time to
find
go
yourself in the house. If you don't find yourself in the house, you get in licks. Now somewhere between A and B, I feel I used to like licks. Because when I like come on, I used to get paralyzed and just stay in the back of the house.
What you doing? When you're creeping now, you're watching the
No, in my mind, oh shit, the light come on, I get it licks. You see,
You say you don't get in
I
trouble.
never made the connection. I never made the connection between boy. Take your two legs, put one in front of the other, and walk through that door and enter the house. I say, hold on, be in the house. See? Later.
You just made it wrong.
It made a whole lot of sense to me.
him.
Now, like Kurt was saying, as a child, it wasn't making sense or anything. But as an adult, you look back and you say, boy, check shit I was doing it. And I used to get around this and jump through this and jump through that.
To live that kind of life.
And you still love it.
You used to live that kind of life. The jump for window life.
Wow! What is it?
Friends of people.
So hold on. So Femi,
Wait, what?
I want to ask you something.
Sure,
Go
just-
right ahead.
Because we've been addressing like the topic of bullying in schools, but you have any scenarios of bullying in workplaces?
Oh yeah, sure. So I have a list, right? of scenarios. I'm gonna read out the scenarios, and you're gonna tell me based on the scenario if it's bullying or not and why, right?
Okay.
So first things first. Well, we already touched on the definition, the broad definition of bullying, but the definition of bullying in the workplace is it has to be a repeated offense. It has to be unreasonable behavior that creates risk to an employee's well-being or their ability to work.
Okay.
So, examples of bullying
Sometimes just
behavior.
coming in the building is a risk to well-being.
So, examples of bullying behavior would be verbal abuse. So, insults, yelling, humiliating somebody, whether it's in private or in a group setting. Constant or unfair criticism. Excluding someone from work-related activities on purpose.
Yeah.
Undermining or sabotaging someone's work.
Boy.
And this happens a lot, and people don't realize that is a form of bullying.
Boy, the workplace bullying is so blatant.
Spreading rumors or gossip about persons within the workplace without having actual facts. You can have these conversations, but why are you
speaking about it in the workplace
And spreading
it
Yeah.
and making it worse. Like, you know, when you play what you call that?
Chinese whisper.
Yeah, or something telephone, and you start the message off with somebody and they whisper to you,
Yeah.
and then somebody add on something else. Well, that's exactly what that is, and it just makes it worse. It's even worse in a workplace scenario. Abuse of authority. So a lot of the times persons don't realize that your managers, supervisors, or senior managers of a company or organization you work for can sometimes abuse their power. And so they give you unfair workloads, impossible deadlines.
Unreasonable
Yeah.
favors.
Asking you things late after hours, things that are more on a personal basis rather than work related. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so those types of things is
Have a lot of trouble to unpack.
those types of things are types of are examples of behavior in bullying. But I feel that's why he picked the topic for today.
Category cut out. Voice and production.
So what I'm about to say now is things that are perceived to not be bullying, because we don't want people to get mixed up with what is actual bullying and what isn't. Okay. So important to distinguish between bullying from normal workplace actions are reasonable performance management. So if you're having an actual evaluation with somebody and you're explaining, well, you do X, Y, and Z, and sometimes you do X, Y, and Z, not in the manner in which we want.
Right.
You explain what your expectation is, and you're explaining what behaviors or things that employee can do in order to improve, rather than just saying, oh, well, you do X, Y, Z wrong, and that's it. You're not telling them what your expectation is. You're not giving them a clear deadline or in which to improve.
Or not correcting it before appraisals.
Exactly. You wait until appraisal time to tell them they're doing all these things wrong. When you can step in before appraisal time reach and be like, hey, Carol, you talk a lot on these meetings, but when it comes to your reports, you don't really submit them on time, and you need to work on submitting your reports
That's because I'm dyslexic.
in a timely manner. Well, see, now we can talk about this. So we know that you need more time to submit certain things because of your dyslexia. We're not discriminating against you for your learning disabilities. So therefore,
Let me handle that well.
it's a conversation, and not. That's the difference between some managers. Some managers seem to think that they could just tell you things instead of trying to have a conversation. A performance management appraisal is not supposed to be where I just telling you all the things that you're doing wrong and just be like, okay, sign that. Excuse me? I'm not signing shit. You have to explain to me, when did I do this thing wrong? Why? And what expectations you have for the future, or how we can. And if you're not giving the person the tools to do what it is that you're asking them to do, how do you expect them to achieve the goal that you want?
100.
Some of the things
They're just supposed to pull magic out of their hat.
some of the things you mentioned in the workplace sound like you're just being petty. Or is it just me? Because I know we've...
What you mean?
What?
In terms of bullying behaviors?
No, like, I don't know, you're leaving out somebody from a email intentionally.
No, but
They're not petty. That's bullying.
No, but once in a blue moon is
No, I'm just
not
saying,
seen
to
as
me,
bullying.
To me, sometimes
But-
it could just seem like, okay, she just being petty. Because I've had situations like that.
But you said intentionally.
If you intentionally
Is it by
doing it
mistake, huh?
repeatedly and you keep
Not
doing
repeatedly,
this,
just like...
no, well, if it's not repeated, it's not bullying.
No,
it's just
I never say me.
The
if
focus
it's not repeated and it's just you that it keeps happening to,
Yeah,
or
but
it happened to one time or
repeated
a
or
couple
not,
of times, it's an accident. I'm not gonna chalk that up as being
repeated,
bullying.
not the fact that you said intentionally.
But if you intentionally doing
That's
something
what we
to someone,
describe as bullying, right?
that
The
is bullying.
intention too. To intentionally cause harm or abuse of power.
Yeah, you
So,
are the advantage to the person.
Whether it was
You know
once or
something.
twice, the fact that it's intentional.
But it has to be more than one. It has to be more than one. Because somebody could intentionally.
If you don't email me once, never email me again.
High five. Keep your petty Bettyness to yourself, fam.
That is my point.
Okay. Keep your petty Bettyness to yourself. But we touched on like constructive criticism and feedback. That is not a form of bullying, and that is proper workplace etiquette, right? But a lot of times persons do not, well, not persons, but in general, managers, supervisors, etc., not all the time that they follow disciplinary action policies. Like, they go based on their feelings sometimes. So they might not like somebody. I've worked in a scenario where the manager just didn't like the guy that was working in his department. And he came in my office, he saw me, he bust the door. He's like, Femi, you need to fire that man before the end of today. I said, excuse me? That's not how this works. This man been working here longer than you. You can't tell me I must just fire the man today.
Right.
You have to have just cause to fire somebody that is past probationary period.
That's why they need
that's
people like
wrongful
you.
dismissal. You want the labor department to come after us because it's not me. I said it. I'm telling that decided to do it. I'm sending them to you. But things like that, like a lot of managers and supervisors don't understand some of the labor laws that are in place and what they can and cannot do in regards to that.
All the kind of energy they put.
Yeah, and that is a form of bullying as well.
I have sat in executive positions where I heard a staff say something about this particular staff who is a bigger guy, and they present it to us as the executive, and then you'll hear staff say, I never liked this person, you know. That by itself is just throw me off.
Yep.
Why do I don't like the person? Oh, you know, this happened to me once and it reminded me of this situation.
That's horrible.
So
And they don't even
in
know
your
the
mind,
person
you're
in a
relating
professional
that person
To somebody
to something
else.
totally different that they have nothing to do with.
Ridiculous.
People need to learn to let go. But
Facts.
share the scenarios so we can.
Yeah, let's
Wait, hold on. What was good going to say? Oh, okay. All right. So, hold on a second. Right. So, scenario one. A manager gives an employee critical feedback privately about their work. What's your answer?
That's not good.
The lady that gives it to me is not a bully.
Okay, perfect. That is normal performance management behavior.
Okay.
Scenario two, the manager gives that criticism in front of the entire team every single time.
That's
He's a
bullying.
bully.
Yes, because you're publicly humiliating or criticizing this person in public. Scenario three, a coworker forgets to include you on an email once.
That's not
a bully.
Exactly. That's petty Betty shit.
That's not a bully.
And they forgot. It's not like they purposely did it.
Right.
Scenario four, you are consistently left off of emails and meetings that affect your work.
That's on purpose.
Yes. That's subtle bullying. You are subtly being a bully. It's not out in your face. They're not being mean to you every day. They're polite to you when they see you, but they're just leaving you off the meetings
That
every
sounds like
single time.
some Karen shit right there.
Yeah, it is some Karen shit.
For real.
So the next scenario is a manager sets high expectations for a top performing employee.
For a top performing?
Yeah, for a top
That's not
performing
really
employee.
bullying because they already have that expectation from somebody who informs.
It's not bullying.
Great. It's not bullying.
It's regular life. It's not bullying. But it depends on how they go about doing it. There's a fine line, but it's not bullying. Overall, generally, it's not bullying.
Yeah, that's not like the curse of competency where the person. It's a real thing.
It's
If
true.
you're too much of a good employee,
Yeah.
you get more work.
Yeah, the reward for good work is people more work
yeah.
for you, and then you're watching that person over there and they're doing anything.
But it can be bullying.
Well, that's why I said generally, in a general sense, it is not
It's
bullying.
not.
But
That's what
depending
she's
on
saying.
how they go about it, it can be.
But does the how matter?
Yes, that is what differentiates whether it's bullying or not.
The reason why I say it that way is like if I am able to do 10 things when the other staff doing 2, that doesn't mean you have to come and give me 11.
No, but if I'm encouraging, if you show interest in the different tasks and you come and ask me as your manager to learn something new.
That's what I'm gonna ask you.
Yes, but also if I'm doing a performance appraisal and I realize that you're a top performer in everything, and I see something in you with regards to a specific topic or a specific project, and I think that you would do great in it, and I encourage you to do it, and you decide to do it on your own accord. I'm not forcing you to do it. That is not bullying. If I force you to do something,
No, I understand. But where I was coming from is not necessarily how the thing. But you so let's say I could do 10. I could do 10.
So if you could do
You only do 2. But you need the 15, so you need me to take up from somebody else that's not performing.
because he wants
You
to
understand?
himself.
No, but what? But
You're being bullied.
no,
You say
listen.
you can't do it.
I never said it's being bullied. Let me finish the thought. Let me finish the thought.
No, we just
Stick up in. Stick up in. Shut up. Right. Right? So the concept is like, because they know they want to make sure they meet the mark.
Yeah.
Right? They know that I could pick up the slack. But to me, if I pick up the slack, if you come to me, make me an offer for picking up the slack. Don't just make it be a situation, okay, well, she could pick up the slack.
one-time thing that you're taking up the slack for, then by all means necessary. It's not bullying, but you need to speak up for yourself.
Do the 11 projects.
Tell them, okay, you want to give me more duties? That's not in my purview. That's not on my job description. That's not rude.
Yeah, I've seen
asking
situations like
for
that.
a meeting with HR to discuss your growth in the company, so to speak.
And
it's not rude to bring up the fact that you deserve a performance appraisal
And this is just like
for the
you say,
extra
it's
work.
not what you say sometimes, it's just how you
It's
say.
how
Because
you
I have
say
seen
it,
a situation where they ask a staff to pick up a slack, and then the staff say, pay me something more. And then they come and present it to us as if the person was out of place to even suggest that like it's a privilege to do that and so on. And I've been in situations where they notice I can do X better than everybody else.
Yeah.
They don't offer me nothing. And they will send message through people to me and tell me, oh, they say
Check
you
Jason.
better do this by this time or else. Or else what? Nigga.
That's not part of my job description. I'm not willing.
So what about job security?
What do you mean?
Job security in terms of you working for an establishment, but like
Private or public?
it don't matter. You work for an establishment, but like you have a supervisor or manager that on top of you. Well, if you do that, you get fired then.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
form
what
of
he's saying.
bullying.
That's what
You are
he's saying.
threatening the person in that statement or those statements that you're making. You are giving them unrealistic deadlines because exactly, like, why am I doing someone else's job when I finished all my tasks for the day? You cannot disprove that I have not done everything that I was supposed to do, and now you're
Correct.
putting more work on top of me with an unrealistic deadline. I have a life outside of work.
Yeah, how would you determine
So,
it's an unrealistic
from an HR
deadline?
perspective, it all depends on the type of HR person that you have
Facts.
and the whole environment, the workplace dynamic that's already there. You can't change it by being the one person. I'm not telling people to do that. Like, that's insane. But if you have a good rapport with your HR and your HR person is genuinely not just on management side alone, and they actually investigate, try to find out what's going on, and they keep stuff confidential, then by all means necessary, their first step is to go and speak to HR and state, hey,
That's crazy.
no, but you need to, because that's your protection. You can't go after a
Exactly.
manager, especially someone that is your direct line of management, and go after them and thinking that you're going to win. You have
Box
to.
down and finish it out.
That's the worst thing, right? You always say
What if your
suggested
manager looks like
violence.
that?
It's easier if it's not your direct line of supervision, right? Like, you feel more inclined to report the issue if it's not your direct line of supervision. Say me and Kay, we're on the same level in the company. We working together. We fetch, right? Kay always attacking me, telling me I must wear makeup, my face looking like I have pores all over it. I need to check myself. You know,
Never do that.
I know you just use that as a stupid example, but my point is she comments on my appearance every day. You're always dressing like a man. Why you don't dress like a girl sometimes? Blah, blah, blah. Right? So now I think Kay was my work friend, colleague, and now all of a sudden you're attacking me every day about my work appearance and how I look mannish, right? I feel uncomfortable to talk to Kay. I feel uncomfortable to talk to Kay about this particular scenario. So instead of talking to Kay directly, because I tried to bring it up and she dismissed me. She's like,
I feel uncomfortable talking about this.
And then she got bandwagon. She went to Carol and said, Carol, you ain't see Femi looking a little mannish now. You go check that girl there. And then all of a sudden he go and he talked to Simone and Jason and they're like, yeah, it's true. Boy, Femi does look real mannish for sure. They're just looking weird.
Like, the whole echo chamber.
Exactly.
Right.
So now I'm feeling some type of way. I do not want to come to work. I dread coming to work when I wake up.
My God.
So what about
Yes, it is. And so I go to my HR manager. No, I want to fully answer Nigel's question. So I go to the HR manager and I disclose or report what's been happening to me. And now they're going to tell me I need to provide whatever evidence I can provide of this workplace bullying, right? And
So
it's
you need to go and take more chalk now.
yeah, indirectly. But they also do, HR is also supposed to do their own private investigation of the matter, right? They will speak to other peers and find out other things. Some persons will talk, some persons won't talk. But their strict thing is that they're supposed to make it confidential and make you feel comfortable and safe in order to feel like no retaliation is going to happen. If word comes out, more than likely, a bully in the workplace, you're not the only one being bullied. So if you make a report, other persons would feel inclined to report said issue, right? And then that way you get more persons put in, I would say, some legs to your claim. So it's not like it's your word against somebody else's, right? Then after that, they are supposed to bring it up to their higher superiors and deal with the matter internally, etc. If it is your supervisor, that's a different story. It is harder for you to feel safe to want to report the issue. But if you do decide to say, to hell with this, I can't take this no more than likely, most persons, if they don't feel comfortable to report the issue, they just find another job and leave that job because it's not worth their time to deal with that.
That is.
And more than likely, that is what happens.
Somebody was sharing the scenario with me. They were supposed to send me a voice note on it, but I didn't get it. And it was similar to what you say. It was the supervisor at that particular workplace that was the workplace bully. And the thing about it again is you cannot cut around the supervisor and say, okay, what do you want to do? Well, or it's difficult too.
It's just difficult.
And the manner in which the person was applying the bullying, the tactics was not necessarily so open and clear for you to define to somebody. So it's very covert. The manner in which they were doing the bullying.
They did it in a smart.
Right? So even if you go and report them to management, what are you reporting to management?
The fact that you reported it it should be enough for them to look into it. Because remember, bullying is repeated. Is a repeated offense. So it's not a one-time thing. You don't think they're going to slip up at some point?
No, I'm not saying no, but the person could say, that's how they lead. The supervisor could say, that's how I lead. I lead in that manner. You understand?
Yeah.
And that person is being affected by it. They're seeing it as bullying, but in the supervisor's eyes, no, that's just how I lead.
Yeah, but how many other persons feel the same way? What makes you think that that's the only person feeling that way about that person's supervisory
people need
skills
to learn to speak
or
up.
management skills?
There's a thing you'll forget in favoritism.
Yeah, people need to learn to speak up.
Because some people have seniority in a workplace. They could have been bullying people their entire career and people do what Femi's just like, I'll get another job. Because sometimes you go there knowing, boy, boy. But Ashton is bullying people there. Ashton let's do this. Ashton let's do that. Right? But you need a job.
Facts.
You figure out slide on the radar and then Ashton watch him and say, that's my newest victim. But it just takes one person to stand their ground and figure, push through it and make
My
it.
thing is, there's a starvation of security. Look at the schools, they barely have guidance counselors anymore in the schools. So who do the children really go to? If the teacher does a bullying and kind of thing. In the workplace, hardly any business in St. Lucia has an HR person or department.
And that's the next thing.
Properly trained.
They're just not good.
Properly trained.
That
Yeah.
is my next point that I was coming with. The persons that they put in as HR managers are persons who did business administration. So they just did a sidebar of one class or a semester of HR.
So who's accountable in a case like that?
Who's the
If you don't have a trained HR person within the workspace. Because if I go to the labor department and I say, like, well, boy, how did you get resolved in your matter? When I went to HR, but the way HR deals with the situation, like,
That's why there's lawsuits.
And that's why you go to the labor department when you didn't get a resolution. The labor department has the power to force an organization to rehire somebody if they want terminated for us.
And you're in a situation, you have to stay in that environment, right?
Yes,
and they're taking how long to act from your behalf.
Discourages people, The money and time.
Yeah.
The system is not efficient enough to
It's not.
resolve these things.
And then we have to remember most organizations in St. Lucia is small family-run businesses. So the HR is the manager, is the sister, is the brother, so they're definitely not watching to see what's going on there. Or they have the final say. That manager be worried about have the final say on top of
Everybody
HR
else,
that might
yeah.
also be trying to keep the job.
Which is a big thing, because most of the times HR managers report to the owner or the general manager or regional manager of that particular
how can you keep
organization.
anonymity in this small organization. You say you go and report your thing confidentially, and then the person watching you side eye the next you have to see if your butt cheeks clenched to the next
That's why I need to speak to all the HR managers or persons in the HR department now, because their task is to be the bridge between employees and management.
So what
not to pick sides. And your whole sole purpose is to be confidential. If you feel you cannot handle this situation because of who it is, and you didn't bring it up to the necessary persons because of which manager it might be, etc., what does that say about you as a person? You're going to let your employees suffer because you're afraid to speak up yourself? Doesn't that say something about what's going on in that particular organization?
Well, I have a statement, another question, a statement.
Let me get this statement.
HR always speaks in the best interest of the company.
Well, that's why I said that person is not a good HR manager, because the HR person is not supposed to be for company, manager, or employee alone. They are supposed to be the bridge. Yes, the company is paying them, but they are supposed to be the persons that help the company align with what the labor laws are and the policies that are set out for that company. So if you're not adhering to none of the policies, nothing in the labor laws at all, and you're just doing what you want, there are things there to protect employees. And they are supposed to be the ones, the officers that are supposed to police that process. And if they're not doing that, they are not good HR people.
But let's look at bullying in a company.
I'm trying to ask,
I want to hear Kay's question, because she had a question not now, and I wanted to finish my point with Jason, and then I did, and then we moved on to something else. So back to Kay. She's not bullying, she waited patiently. Continue.
Boys of production having it tonight, boy.
Anybody who say you're bullied him.
You know that?
No, but it's every week caught bullying people on the panel, so it's only fair. It's only fair if he take a little bit of his own medicine every now and again. When coach ready, he just come for me, and nobody don't be backing me but Kay. Anyways.
That is a goddamn lie.
So, I wanted to ask Famous, what about, like, since we're speaking on bullying, we covered, with HR managers, etc. What about bullying as it comes to line staff, like subordinated staff? So, because you have a lot of scenarios. Okay, like, for example,
give an actual example.
The scenarios you gave are managers to line staff.
Yes.
Right, but do you have actual bullying amongst employees? within organizations.
And that's easier to deal with.
You understand?
And that's easier
I
to
don't
deal
think
with.
so.
It is if the person feels
Not if that
compelled.
one friends with that one, friends with that one, friends with
Well, that's the next thing. That's the next thing. That's the next thing. HR is not supposed to have any friends. You are not. You can be friendly.
I know, but
you are not supposed to be friends.
But it's a real
with anybody.
It is a real
I'm not
example.
saying that your example is not real. It does happen. But what I'm saying is, the HR person is supposed to be impartial, right? Yes, you are supposed. You're human. You have friends. But if your friend is in the wrong, you have to be the one to say, well, no, you cannot be doing X, Y, Z. Not just because that person is your friend, you just would sit there and don't do nothing for the other employee.
So
your responsibility is to all employees, not your friends.
So we know what is supposed to happen.
Yes,
so I
supposed
feel
to.
like Femi is passionate because that's my girl's field. But, you know, she knows what it's supposed to be. But I want to touch on what is actually like existence.
Okay, so I'll give you a scenario, right? When I used to work on a construction site and I had a scenario between two, well, you know, when a bunch of men work together, there's always some random fist fights, physical altercation.
Really?
Hello, when you're working on
construction-
a construction site, hell yeah.
With female peers than male peers.
No, I beg to differ. Because in my office full of females and two males, not one of us did fight
The
one
males keep
another.
you all from fighting each
Not really. They were out in the field 99.9% of the time. But anywho, back to my point. There was two persons in two different departments. One in operations and one was working in landscaping. Now, whatever happens, but bear in mind, this is a small island, right? Literally about 3,000 people living on this island. So you practically know everybody wherever you go. They mostly went out the night before by a bar. They come to work the next day. Whatever happened at the bar did not stay at the bar. They decided to bring whatever disagreement they had to the workplace. They fought physical fist fights on the construction site, and both of them got sent home. Like, the general manager was out doing a site visit and he happened to see the ending of the fight. And he said, the two of y'all, when you're ready to work, you can come back to my site, go home, right? The next day, no, not even the next day, the same day, one of them was afraid that they was gonna lose their job. So they called me and they asked me what was my take. So I said, I need to know the full story. You need to tell me what happened. I wasn't there on site. I do not know. So they told me their side. I told them, come and see me tomorrow morning. And what's the name of the other person you fought with? So I called that person and I spoke to that person. And I told them to come to the office at a different time, later in the day, to come and see me. Because it didn't make sense to have two people who just fought in the same office. So I sat down with the person who was the aggressor first. And I asked... No, he admitted that he was the aggressor and he swung the first punch. So I asked him to come and speak to me first. So I asked him, why did you feel that physical violence was the answer to whatever problem it is that y'all had? So he explained to me the personal issue and why he decided to do what he did. And it wasn't because he said he was going to leave it alone, but the man turned and tell him something when he was passing along the area where the guy was hoeing the land to put flowers there. So I was like, okay. I then spoke to the other person and they basically said everything that the guy said, but omitted to say that he started it or said anything to provoke the man in his anger. So I found a way to talk to him in a way, like to try and coax it out of him. And eventually he admitted what it was that he said to that person. And I asked him, I was like, if someone had said that to you, how do you think you would have reacted? And he's like, boy, I would have knocked that man, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, exactly. So why you thought it was a good idea to even remotely say anything to this man? I was like, furthermore, you're working on a construction site with health and safety concerns. You're working along with other people. You're not just endangering yourself, you're also endangering others. I was like, when you walk through that gate tomorrow, leave that shit at the door. Because here is not the place for that.
I don't think that scenario is like a bully, you know?
it wasn't necessarily bullying.
I just
but
look at it as a conflict.
it was a conflict, but it was an ongoing vibe of bullying outside of the workplace, and they brought the situation to work. So
I really wonder what happened at that vibe.
I want to know what happened too, but it's something where this guy always telling the man something or picking on him and calling him names and talking about his woman and all kind of different things.
Talking about his woman?
Yeah, and then no, but you're also living on a small island with 3,000 people, and there's more man than woman living on this island. Your woman is important to you. Okay? If you have a woman, be lucky that nobody will take them. So in his mind, the man showing how much jokes, and then you come and you try to take my woman at the same bar I line at with my woman. Like, no, fam.
That's bullying.
All jokes.
But my point is that it's a form of bullying, but it didn't happen on the workplace, right? And so
I don't look at that as
So you tell me I'm a bully?
Let me try.
if you bring it to the workplace and you make it
You just
my
go back
problem,
and take my
yes.
woman.
When I talk about
If you make it my problem, yes.
Fat boy is only speaking on the fat boy. Whatever you call it, the fat boy, that's bullying.
when I talk
Yeah.
about bullying amongst subordinates or employees, let me give an example, right? So, three girls working together in a specific department, because maybe the
Same department or different?
in a specific department. So
Okay.
they're working in the same department, right? They have a supervisor. So they have somebody in charge of them. They have a supervisor, and there are different departments in the organization,
Right.
right? Two of the girls become friends. They get closer, and maybe they realize that the other girl, the last girl, the third girl, does not align with some of the things that they, that join them as friends, right? So they become a menace to that girl. They tag team and they make that girl miserable. They make her miserable how? They've become bullies by giving that specific girl to complete their task. That's one. They become bullies by constantly complaining about things that person is doing when they're purposely setting that person up to fail. Right? And then now they run quickly as the victims to their superior, who is the immediate supervisor, and make that specific person look incompetent. Now that scenario I just give there, that's a real scenario that happens in a lot of workplaces, right? And instead the supervisor addresses or could so much be like that, analyze or assess what's happening amongst the three girls, she automatically believes the two versus the one. And then now the supervisor unknowingly now starts making that person look like they're the problem. So if they fail to submit a file, you would say, oh, so that's what the two girls talking about. Where it could just be that person is overworked because the other two, she's already carrying the weight of the two bullies.
So
how do we address that?
Not clear them out.
No.
How about that?
The person that's being bullied and then being attacked by their supervisor on top of that needs to report it to HR or the supervisor because they have a supervisor. There is someone above that person. So if you don't have a proper HR person, you need to take that to management.
But that
and you must
have fear.
No, but you must have proof that you're being overworked. There's email threads, there's documentation, there's evidence to prove that you are doing.
That's given the structure of the working establishment is organized in such a way for it to be able to go that way.
Or you go home.
Right? So let me give you an example why sometimes that will not work. Your immediate supervisor, right, might has to report to their immediate supervisor. Let's put it this way, right?
Right.
But you cannot, there's nobody for you to interface with. So even if you go to the HR department, the HR department, okay, you know what? Let's just take it out of the private sector and think of public sector.
Right.
In public sector, you do have the HR department like how
Right there with me.
Right?
Right.
And even if you have a quorum, right? The person you're taking it up to, depending on how that position is given, if it's a consultant position or something, so you do not have the same redress as somebody who is a permanent worker within
That's a fact.
Right.
the government. You understand? So there's already a separation there. So for your consultancy is contingent on who.
Performance.
No. Your consultancy contract, right?
Okay.
Is contingent on who your supervisor is. And if your supervisor already sides with that person, she has or he has the right to just do whatever he wants with you.
Just become the subject of a bullying
You understand?
situation.
So there's no redress for you in when you look at the structure, because your supervisor could literally tell you, you know what, go at your home, and that's it.
Now let's talk about the grown-up
hold on a
people that
second.
has bullied the young people that come in and work.
But hold on a second.
In the
If you're
business
saying that
places,
this person is
you're
on
wrong for that.
a contract, right? Okay, never mind. I was going to say something, but never mind. It's fine.
Why?
No, because government structures or public
It's
sector
different.
works on a different
It is
tangent.
different.
So it's different to address that. I've only worked in the private sector, so I cannot answer that question in all fairness. But if it was in a private sector setting and you do not have an HR department, there is a boss to that boss. And you must be able to speak to them, whether you are on contract or not. And my thing about it is, if you don't feel comfortable to report this issue, your work will speak for itself at some point in time. They can't do that forever. They must slip up somehow.
Not how it said.
Tom and Jerry cannot win all the time. They cannot.
In those situations, Tom and Jerry do win.
Oftentimes, I'm the final say in what happens. Right? There is an HR department. There are supervisors, there are managers, and then there's line staff.
Right.
I had a situation almost identical to the one you described, except with the line staff, it wasn't just 2 or 3, it was 5, 6, 7 of them.
Right.
Out of, say, 7, 6 of them were already working there for a long time. One came in, she'd been working there for a while, she was okay, but then she decided to up and quit. She never went to HR, she never went to the supervisor, she never went to HR, she never came to me, she never said anything. After she quit, she came into the office crying. And when we tried to ask what's going on, she says they bullied her out of the job, essentially. She decided to leave because the other 6 were in a thieving ring. They were stealing together. And she wouldn't join them. Right? But everything that she talked about was almost impossible to actually pin down, because anytime you talk to anybody else, it was always her that was the problem.
Yes.
She's the problem. She's the problem. Everything. So the other 6 lying for each other against her.
Well, she used her as the mole.
Exactly.
It was already after the fact. She had already left.
But I have a question.
No, she left because she thought she would not win.
Exactly.
Exactly.
She didn't want to
that's
come
what
back.
I said earlier.
She didn't want to
Majority of
come
the
back.
times, if you feel that you cannot win or
Exactly.
be understood or at least get some form of resolution in the matter.
Right. Now we have a very open door
Decidedly.
policy, right? You get to go to the supervisor. If you don't like what they say, you go to the HR. If you don't like what they say, you come straight to me.
But they always say that, eh?
You have-
That not what always
I
happens.
fully stand by that.
Yeah, but
Listen.
at least this is someone who is at the top that makes the final decision, that is saying that, hey, I will do something if none of these people did anything.
Right.
And there are some people out there, you just have to decide if that is something you want to do. But it's not, you're not playing the shotgun here. You're not going to just say or report something and then magically it just fixes in like 1 or 2 days after you report it. There is a process.
And
Sometimes it takes long.
A saying for something like that. Not every time the juice is worth the squeeze
Exactly.
of the story of going forward.
Exactly. So that's why some people just decide it's better to just
Leave.
quit, find a next job, and go about their business. But here's my question to you though. How high of a turnover in that last position have you had? Because if somebody keeps quitting, clearly there is something wrong in the work environment that's there.
Prior to that person, it was a very long-term thing. So, I
So
guess
they were
before-
all in the ring and that
they-
person decided to leave.
Exactly. When that
Okay.
person came in, They tried to indoctrinate them. They said no. They bullied them. They marginalized them. They ostracized them, whatever. And eventually the person decided to leave.
And they couldn't prove it.
Well, here's where that person went wrong. I would have pretend like I in it with them, document every blasted thing, and then take it to who I have to take it to.
Well, not everybody thinks like that. Too.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going down like by myself. I can tell you that.
But again, remember what he's saying is that it was a bully situation.
Exactly.
So now they're not just attacking the fact that they wanted to ring you in. They're trying to make sure that they could pressure point on where they could take advantage of you.
Yeah.
So
that's why there is an imbalance of power.
In their favor.
Yeah.
Now they find that as bullying.
Back to the supervisor as well, right?
Okay,
The supervisor
well, that
was
makes
also
sense.
coming down on her. So
Right,
it was
right.
just a lot going on.
That was just too much. And not too many people coming
Now,
at you, to be very
Had
honest.
she
And what's
decided,
to make you think that the supervisor wasn't in on this as well?
well, that part I'm not going to talk about.
No, that's totally fine. That's
But
the sidebar.
I will tell you that
But,
part of
yeah.
the resolution at the end was basically all the line staff had to be let go. Because
Right.
once we did the investigation, we found all 67 of them had to go one time.
That's
So
right.
not only did I lose the good person, not only did I lose the bad, I lost the one good person. She didn't want to come back anymore.
But that one good person did you a solid.
Yeah, they did.
Even though she left and she highlighted after the fact, you now can pay a keen sense as to who you're hiring in this position and make sure that every time, like, you don't keep people on after 3 months if you see in signs of different things, and make sure that that HR is doing the actual job. They need to be doing performance appraisals.
We give a lot of examples of bullying, but we have to address the underlying cause. You have to have a quote-unquote aggressor and a reciprocal. Could give a good example where he said somebody was making fun of him and then he called them one word and not touch a button. Definitely they feel that whatever was said to them had to bring it to another dimension. So it go from being a verbal exchange to a physical altercation. And you have to be careful what you allow to get into you, because sometimes somebody might be telling you something and you don't think it's that much, like in your situation with the construction side. The man thinking, oh boy, that's the way he's talking. And then all the time the man taking it personal and the man don't know how to communicate. Boy, just stop telling me that. Or the only thing he know is violence. I have to cuff him in his face next time he tell me that. He not even telling anybody that. He just going straight to cuff him in his face.
They just on a whole macho scene, like, who's the toughest man? I can't make this man tell me that.
And then all the time, all the time,
on a construction site.
they have a next construction over have a camera that's screwing him and wife recording the
Recording the whole scenario.
Watch
All
what
the
you
things
do.
that's happened.
But there,
How do we... Go ahead, sorry.
I said there's so many levels to bullying. So many rooms that we can open doors to where they are bullying, whether it be in HR, school, relationships, friendships. But I think there's a thin line. I feel, like Nigel pointed out a while ago, where you see somebody, you call somebody fat boy, or you call somebody big head, or you call somebody chicken. From my generation, there are so many guys that had nicknames put on them in secondary school and primary school that are their nicknames today because you've grown past the growing pains of the emotional keyboard and you realize it might have started as a bullying thing or a fun thing, but then you also have to allow it to affect you. If they say, let's say Nigel have skinny legs, they start calling him chicken legs. All right? And then you decide, you don't have, but I'm just saying. All right? Let's not call him chicken legs.
Nigel look down on his legs like, wait a minute, are they really skinny?
You just like, all right, they call me chicken legs. Eventually, it just might be chicken. All right? Or it might be legs. And then you go on in life and then the effect that they want to get, they're not getting. So it might be only your actual friends that end up calling you that name because the people that started it didn't get the result that they wanted. Like the old school saying, sticks and stones.
But I also find that y'all Lucian's nicknames just be real fucked up. I don't think I ever hear some messed up nicknames till I move Lucia. And then y'all want to keep this trend going till the people them in their 40s and 50s. Like, come the fuck on. Why you calling me this name still? Like, I know it's, yeah, but all your way was with the names, dog. No, with the names, some of the names that I have heard just living here in the first year alone, I literally almost just like, what the fuck, fam? Like,
But
the kind of, it's creative, yes, but it really is fucked up. I don't understand how some of y'all even still living, because if somebody was calling me some of them names, they constantly, every fucking... But if somebody was calling me that every single day, I swear to you, I was gonna be suffering from depression. I would be depressed. That's what you calling me every fucking day.
At the end of the day, when you look at it, it's either you fight it, and you fight it at the losing battle.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
The more you fight it, the more you feel.
Because at the end of the day, you have, and I think that's why we have to decide. I feel bullying is also a matter of perspective, like you said, right? You could be saying something to me and I never perceive it as a bullying act. You understand? Mm-hmm. It could be your intention to try and bully me, but if I never receive it, it's nothing, right? I will give you an example of that. I know of a ward, a child, right, who doesn't allow those things to face them, not because they're not aware that they're trying to, but they're so socially awkward naturally. It just doesn't face them. It doesn't face them. That doesn't mean that if you get the opportunity to correct people from trying, you don't correct them. But the mere fact that he's socially disconnected, it doesn't. Not about doesn't. He understands.
He understands, but it doesn't.
But it doesn't faze him because, for one, how he's being complimented elsewhere offsets it.
Right. Okay.
You understand? So you may call him. Let's just say you call him dirty this, dirty that, but at home they're calling him king. They're calling him. He's being lifted up.
Right.
So you have that counterbalance. That's why I tell you at the end of the day is perception. How you come across with it. You understand? So you're not going to, for bullying to be able to manifest itself, it has to be something whereby that's being fed.
But not if the bullying is met with actions. It's one thing to call somebody pathetic and them kind of thing, but it's another thing when you're actively trying to sabotage.
What is pathetic?
For those that don't know what that is, please enlighten us.
Oh yeah.
You're bullying now. Stop that shit.
No, I just say, right? It's something different when somebody, because remember there's different types of bullying, as you said, right? It's different when it's verbal and you don't, you could block that out, but it's different when somebody's actively trying to affect you in the workplaces through actions, through things that they're doing to actively sabotage you.
Not only in the workplace, in life in general.
Well, yes, but since we specifically we're talking about, right?
Okay, so I could give you a personal example with that, right? I had a manager that used to undermine me all the time. Mm-hmm. But they didn't realize that their manager used to look out for me. They worked with me on a different project and they understood that I'm good at what I do, right? So they didn't believe off the bat that what this person was saying was exactly what was transpiring in terms of the work that I was producing. Mm-hmm. So they asked to hear my side. And I had documentations because I know if it's not written, it doesn't exist. So I have backed up documentation of everything that I've done and what I learned and what I have to do and what's not. So I had proof and evidence to prove that I am doing my work and I am meeting deadlines and I am doing what I'm being asked to do. This person, my supervisor, is just not giving me enough work to do. So I have free time. When I don't do everything I have to do on my thing, there's nothing there. but you consistently trying to undermine me. And it backfired in their face.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, their manager came to me direct and was like, yo, I will sort it out, no problem. And they just moved me.
To be continued.
There are people who bully in workplaces because they don't like you. It doesn't have to necessarily be anything you do. They just don't like you.
Facts.
Or because your work ethics and your work
They feel
attitude-
threatened. They feel threatened.
Exactly.
They feel like you're coming for their
So
job.
how do we, what suggestions can we make in the workplaces, as it pertains to bullying?
I like us all not to pretend that we are only the victims and that sometimes we can be unknowing accomplices and bullies in ourselves. Because in all of what you're saying, I've seen situations where I've definitely and I've definitely been the one to be bullied. And taking somebody, in fact, let's leave that there. Moving on.
Let's save that for part 2, right? Because we at that point in time.
Yes,
Yes, part 2, we have to talk about cyberbullying.
Yes, for sure.
Can't stop the timer now and restart it now.
I see you wasn't seeing it.
But I will
I was really not paying attention to it.
I will leave you all with this. Workplace bullying or bullying on a whole is not always loud and obvious. A lot of the times, it doesn't just have to be shouting insults or actually saying anything. It could just be a subtle action. It could just be, but it has to be something that is repeated and patterns of bullying behavior. You also have to be targeting people.
Get good HR.
So
Listen to both sides of the story. Investigate. That's what makes
Facts.
a proper work environment. Don't choose sides.
Facts.
Grown Folks Only Podcast.